Morning. Welcome to Money Matters. My name is Nev. Today is July 4th, 2020. So happy Independence Day to everybody watching this from their homes or beaches for that matter. Hey, I'm not judging. So hopefully you're doing well. Hopefully you are loving the day and what's going on, but don't love the breaks a little bit too much because it is important to continue learning and educating ourselves when it comes to money, business, finance, and all kinds of other ways to truly become an independent, sovereign individual, not having to depend on anybody. And that's really what the mission of Money Matters and One Deal Away is. We are, of course, broadcasting live only on onedealaway.com. And I want to welcome everybody who is here watching live. Make sure you let me know where you're tuning in, say hello in the chat. And after the show, after the episode, of course, we're going to go into the Q&A, hangout, chat, and talk about all kinds of things you want to talk about. If you're watching this on YouTube, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and the bell button to get notified when the new show goes live. And it goes live every single day. So every day you will get yet another episode of what's going on. And today's episode, we're going to talk about a whole lot about cryptocurrencies, ways to stay safe, ways to understand what ransomware exists, where the companies are going, what's going on with the patents, who is filing patents, and all different things that are important when it comes to us staying ahead, not playing behind when it comes to our money. All kinds of cool things that we're going to be covering today. So let's do this. And good morning. My gosh, this is going to be an excellent episode. I can't wait to talk about all kinds of cool things. So, without further ado, let's go through and talk about crypto because it is Independence Day and I am so bullish, so incredibly excited about the world of crypto and what it has to offer to individuals, to businesses, to corporations, and the entire financial world of how it's going to change. And I think we're going to experience that in our lifetimes and likely in this decade, in the 2020s. I think the 2020s, by the end of it, it's going to be very different than what the beginning was like. I think we're going to see all kinds of interesting and exciting things happening. So, first thing first, let's take a look at the market. And as you can see, a lot of red, y'all. Not a whole lot happening, especially in the top 10, except for Cardano, which has been up a little bit over 6% over the 24-hour period. Everything else, as you can see, is pretty much close to zero. If we are to switch it, let's take a look at the winners of the day or the 24-hour period. And you can see Loopring on top at 15.5%. Again, this is one of those interesting things of what CoinGecko does. It doesn't put everybody in order, but it does sort them out. So I don't know how that works, but hey, if you have figured out how CoinGecko does that, then maybe I'm doing something wrong. Please let me know in the chat or in the comment. Ren, Ox, Augur, Kusama, Eldron, Status, VeChain, Engine Coin, OMG Network, Cardano, Thorchain are definitely the big winners. And when it comes to the losers, Compound has dumped quite a bit. Bitcoin Gold, Kyber Network, Verge, Synthetics, MCO, UMA, Monero, Terra, Chainlink. So there you go. That's kind of what's going on. Compound has been very interesting, but Compound actually, when it started, we can click on it and take a look. But Compound, when it started, it was actually, I think I want to say it was started at $80. Then it pumped to like 300 something. Now we're at 167. And let's take a look at the 30-day. And yeah, you can see what I'm talking about over here. So you can see kind of how it was over here at 372. And since then, it had actually calmed down quite a bit, which is what I expected because nothing, absolutely nothing, whether in crypto space, whether in equities, real estate, just about anything you can think of. When it pumps a lot and it goes up through the roof, it doesn't stay there. It comes down every single time. We see that over and over again. And that's not very unusual. So I think that that's important for you to understand that when you see something start to go parabolic up, um, please do be prepared that it will come down. There's no question about it. I just don't know if it's going to happen today at 2 o'clock or 3 weeks from now at 5 o'clock. I don't know that piece, but I do know that these are the patterns that very much express themselves over the period, right? Like it's just kind of how it happens. So now we have all kinds of interesting news that I want to talk about. And the first component I want to talk about is I want to talk about sort of the safety when it comes to our money. And there are a couple of different articles that I want to cover when we talk about the safety. And first one is talking about ransomware. As you know, ransomware is basically bored individuals who are programmers and likely cannot create anything good. So they decide to either test, play around, or potentially make money in a non ethical way. Hold on, let me close my window. Um, and so they create this ransomware, which is basically a piece of software that they attempt to install on your devices or servers or databases and that kind of stuff in the hopes that they can basically then come back and demand money from you. And we're seeing that there's quite a bit, and we're going to cover quite a bit of ransomware happening today because I think this is important. They seem to be affecting businesses more than individuals, but we're going to talk about in right after this. We're actually going to go into how things are affected by individuals and things that you need to watch out for to protect yourself. All right. So when it comes to cryptocurrencies, you know that it's all digital. You know it's all programmable. You know that it all lives on some sort of tech device, whether it's online or on your computer, your phone, or a cold wallet of sorts. And so it's important for us to understand these different developments to protect ourselves. Now, this particular ransomware conversation that we're going to have now, it's not necessarily just about attacking the cryptos themselves, it's attacking the businesses and demanding payment in cryptos. And the reason for that is that if they say, well, pay me on this bank account, and we know that it's owned by Bank of America, it's very easy to find out who is the owner of that bank account. But when we talk about cryptocurrencies, such as Bitcoin or even Monero, which we're going to see is being covered in this particular article, then it's much harder to track. While we do have an address, we don't always know whom this address belongs to. And then, of course, Monero is one of the cryptocurrencies that is highly touted as super safe on the privacy component of it. And I think that there's some benefits to the privacy. But of course, whenever there's something that is created that can be used for good, it can also be used for bad. And we always see the good behaviors behind it and bad behaviors. And that's just because we're dealing with human beings, and human beings, well, they do all kinds of things. Some do amazing stuff with the same tech, and some look to use the same tech to destroy other people's lives and money. Unfortunately, that is just kind of how the world works. So, just recently, a report published on June 23rd by cybersecurity firm Fox IT revealed a malware group named Evil Corp that has been on a rampage with new ransomware. And it basically demands victims to pay $1 million in Bitcoin. The groups such as Evil Corp create ransomware that targets database service, cloud environments, and file servers, intending to disable or disrupt backup application of companies' infrastructure. One of those things is called Wasted Locker. Wasted Locker is the latest ransomware created by Evil Corp. As of May 2020, the group has resumed attacks once again, and it's named Wasted Locker due to a file name created by the malware, which adds an abbreviation of the victim's name to the word wasted. And basically what it does, it prevents the victim's ability to recover their files for a longer period of time, even if the file has an offline backup setup. And then, of course, if you don't have an offline backup setup, you might never be able to recover the files. So this is one of those things that I think it's important, that when you create a business and you have files, that you do have, obviously, a lot of us nowadays rely on cloud servers to store and execute our data. And I think it's important that not only we have that stuff on the file, potentially have it somewhere on a separate server, and of course, have all of the files, all of the codes for the business to basically live somewhere else. So in case any of this stuff happens, you can shut off all the other pieces, roll out a new one, and really come up with a backup. And if you are in a business that has online dealings, I am not a programmer. I'm learning how to be one. Right? I'm very much learning how to be one because of the businesses that I am in, and of the fact that I too am moving way more online than I ever was before. And on top of that, of course, developing my own real estate investing tech company. And so, because of all of those things, I do have programmers who are working on stuff, but I also find the need that, it's important for me as an entrepreneur to understand how these things work way more in depth. And because we are looking to be on a blockchain and use AI, I found it incredibly important that I learn how to develop different things on top of blockchain, and to learn different programming languages so that I can do stuff. So I have been within that space for a few months now. Very, very exciting world, and it's explaining a lot of things to me. So I understand way more about all of that stuff now than I did when the project first started. So that's important piece. And one of the things that in the world of tech is very much, as I'm learning, important concept to think about is redundancy, meaning you have multiple ways to protect yourself, multiple layers to protect yourself. And that's very similar how I think about when it comes to my money and investing, that you want to have different assets, different portfolios, and different protection systems within your investment processes, so that you're not fully exposed. Way back when, at the previous crisis, not the current one, but previous crisis, I didn't know what I didn't know, and I didn't know a whole lot. I can tell you that much. And I didn't understand about having to have these different sort of protective stops and protective gaps and different ways to kind of store my money and think about it, and sort of this redundancy component. So it's incredibly important that you have that in your business, and of course around your money as well. Paymer is ransomware designed to encrypt the files to target preventing them from accessing files, and subsequently encouraging the victim to pay a ransom to decrypt the files. The ransomware was used in an attack against the city of Torrance in California, where more than 200 gigabytes of data was stolen, with the attacker demanding 100 Bitcoin in ransom. The exact same malware was used to attack the city of Alabama State Information Technology System. And the attack that had brought down the city's email system was made possible through the username of a computer belonging to a city manager in information systems. So as you can see, they're attacking large corporations, large entities such as cities and states, in order to get paid, because they attack you and I. Good luck getting the 100 Bitcoin. Not going to happen. But you attack an entity such as a city, a state, or, something as large as, IBM or Facebook or whatever, where they make billions of dollars a month. And now, of course, it's much easier to demand 100 million or a million or whatever it is that they're demanding to get paid. Now, I'm not sharing that so that you can go and start attacking these places. I am just sharing that the larger you become, the more vulnerable you are to these ransom attacks. Drydex. Checkpoint, the Drydex malware, entered the top 10 list of malware for the first time in March 2020. Also known as Bugat or Crydex, specializes in stealing bank credentials using a system of macros in Microsoft Word. Now, since then, they have actually expanded to entire Windows platform, not just the Word. So the ongoing global pandemic has further escalated the use of malware such as Drydex, easily executed through email phishing attacks. This is very important. how do phishing attacks work? Again, not a complete programmer that I can explain this in detail, but I can give you a bigger picture so that you understand in plain English, because that's what I need to understand what that means. It basically means you receive an email from a company like Bank of America saying that, hey, you need to email us back or click on the link below. There's something wrong with your account. And of course, we're like, oh no, not my money. So you go in and you click, but the problem is it didn't come from Bank of America. It just says Bank of America on the top. So what you want to look is to click on the address, like expand what it says, and look at the address itself. Likely you will not see something like, the security at bankofamerica.com or whatever, which, by the way, more likely than not, they will not email you, and they will not email you click here. If they were to email you, they will actually email you saying you need to log in to your account to verify, and then inside that account, you will receive an important message. So don't fall for that stuff. Check the email, because likely you will see that it's going to be something like XYZ32415 at TWX at, some sort of random thing. That's phishing, okay? They are basically hoping that you're not going to pay attention. You're just going to click on some sort of something, and that is how they steal data. So don't do that. That's an easy one to avoid. Riot ransomware, which is known for targeting hospitals, is the malware distributed via spam emails and geo-based download functions. So again, they are basically targeting individuals in the companies, sending random emails, hoping folks click, and then basically once they get you, they get into the computer. From your computer, they get into the system. And we're going to talk about how sort of this remote work is creating a bit of a problem for the attackers, which could be a good thing for the company as a whole, not so good thing for you as an individual. So the safest thing is check those emails, read the emails, don't go into the spam stuff. I mean, make sure you look at it. Sometimes an important email does land in spam. Take a look at it, read it, and of course verify who the sender is before you do anything whatsoever as far as clicking on random links, because that's how they get you. All right, Revel. Revel Gang operates as RAAS, ransomware as a service. I mean, these folks have created an entire business structure out of the ransomware and the bad behavior. It creates malware strains that it sells to other criminal groups. Real malware infects more than 150,000 unique computers across the globe. Reveal Ransomware Gang launched an auction to sell off stolen data from companies unable to pay ransom, with prices starting at $50,000 payable in Monero. Reveal Gang is primarily targeting corporations, encrypting their files, and asking for astronomical fees averaging at about 260,000. Pony Final, a new ransomware called Pony Final, which uses brute force to get access to its digital network infrastructure to deploy ransomware. Most malware that uses phishing links and emails to trick the user into launching the payload. Ponyfile is distributed using a combination of Java runtime environment and MSI files that deliver malware with a payloader that is activated manually by the attacker, mainly being used to attack healthcare institutions. So basically, what this does is uses brute force. Brute force, again, my understanding. So if you are a programmer, check me. Let me know if I'm right. Let me know if I'm wrong. Again, as somebody who is just learning this stuff, I'm going to try to explain this in a very simple understanding, the way that I am understanding kind of how this works. And brute force basically means that they create a program that tries to log into the back of your business, kind of like if you have a WordPress site and you have the admin entry into the site so that you can, change the images, add to your blog and that kind of stuff. This is very similar. Every single website has the back end of it that folks can log in, typically used for programmers and IT departments, so that they can change and shift things and so on. And so what the brute force does is basically they create a program that over and over and over again tries to log in. They'll try different username with the passwords, and it's gonna keep on trying. So it's not a human sitting there and trying. Like when I used to think of a hacker, I used to think of like the hackers from the movies back in the 80s, which is probably how it worked back in the 80s. But in 2020, that's not how it works, where you have somebody sitting there and they're like, try this, try this, try this. That's not how it works anymore. They actually write a program now that then launch, and then it's actual program that goes in and attempts to do it, attempts to do it, attempts to do it, attempts to do it. So one of the best ways to prevent some of this stuff is by using two-factor authentication. Now, I know that those are kind of pain in the butt to use, right? Because every time you go in, then you have like, you need to be authenticated, then you have to get a phone, then you have to approve the stuff on it. But it is important because what it does is without that piece, you can't get in. Another piece that you also might want to consider is the ability to time them out. After so many attempts, it locks them out completely 100%, and it keeps them out and away. And then you or your IT department, if you have it, want to go in and basically look at some of those AP addresses, look at what is happening, and then you can put them on a permanent block, meaning for forever, this particular IP address, which every computer has, will never be able to go into the site. So again, it's not 100% foolproof, but it is yet another layer of kind of how to prevent some of the stuff. And it's very, very important to do that piece. All right. Now, here is the problem that the ransomware folks are dealing with right now, and that is declining payouts. There's a decrease in number of successful attacks, and not necessarily that they are not successful getting in. It's more that they're not successful in getting paid. Victims are not paying the ransom, leaving the criminal groups like Revel with no other option but to auction the stolen data. And that's a very key and interesting piece to kind of think about that. They're going in and saying, hey, give me this stuff. And people are like, I don't have the money, man. Like, I understand what you want. It's not happening because I just don't have the money. So, excuse me, while the number of attacks has increased, the payouts have decreased. And we've already talked about a few different ways to protect yourself. So one of the ways is check your email. Another way is to create two-factor authentication for just about everything that you have and everything that you can, especially if it's involving sensitive data or if it's involving your money, which I would argue is sensitive data. Final piece is that you want to have different firewalls, different malware protection scanners, clean up your computer all the time. I understand that not everybody is familiar with it. There's so many different YouTube channels where you can go in and learn how to do the stuff. But of course, before you even go with it, make sure you double check on the stuff. When somebody suggests that you download something, you want to check on two things. One, make sure that you trust that person, okay? That they are reliable source and resource for this stuff. And even then, second piece you want to do is you also want to do a little bit of research on that particular thing that you want to download to learn what other folks are saying and test it out on different networks, different areas, so that you have a better understanding of what exactly are you downloading before you download it. Okay, so now we're going to talk about some of the other problems that folks are facing when it comes to the cryptocurrencies, and again, some of these hacking attacks, so to speak. And here is one interesting article that I found. AT&T faces lawsuit over alleged SIM swapping leading to massive cryptocurrency theft. At least $1.8 million worth of crypto stored in his wallet was stolen in an attack that involved active help from AT&T employees. So while you have a system sort of failure, now you also have a problem where employees are not as paid as much as they want to be. So now they're getting creative using their access into a particular system to then sell on a dark web, to sell to the bad actors to make more money and steal money from you. So let's learn basically what SIM swap attacks are. Attack is in question is referred to as SIM swap. A cell phone company can reassign a client's phone number and whatever comes with it to a different SIM card, right? You all know that, right? You lose your phone. It's very helpful and useful that they can basically disable that SIM card, activate the new SIM card, and you don't lose any contacts, any passwords, any of that stuff. Like, it all just seamlessly transfers to the new phone. That's basically what ends up happening, whether you lose it or you just buy a new phone. That's kind of what they end up doing. So this is very helpful for that piece. However, it does provide a security risk. An attacker who has some personal information about a victim may be able to trick the company into cutting the actual SIM card off the network and connect the attacker's phone instead. They hijack all communications to this particular number, including text messages received as part of the two-factor authentication procedure. So basically, what they end up doing is they call the company, right, and they say, "Hi, my name is Nev. I'm an AT&T user, which I'm not. So good luck getting it. Um, but anyways, here's my date of birth, here's my mailing address, here's my social security number, and the people on the other end don't know much of anything. They were like, yeah, that's definitely Nev, because they don't know Nev, and they end up switching things around. So that's part of the problem. Now, I don't know that using the date of birth and the mailing address is the safest way to prevent the theft. So I argue that the safety measures that they have are really stupid. Again, not a professional advice whatsoever, just my personal opinion, because anybody can, those are things that can be easily found. You don't even have to be a hacker to find that information. It's readily available. It's very, very easy to find and locate. And I think in the future, that's not going to be the case. I think that the rise of blockchain and cryptocurrencies, where they're using the seed names, different components of the passwords, the keys, the addresses, and that kind of stuff. I think that that is going to be the future. It's going to be a much safer future, but of course, it's going to take time to get there. Now, the second way that somebody could basically get the swim swap to happen, SIM, not swim, SIM swap. A bad actor would need to either collect sufficient personal data of the victim to effectively mimic them when contacting the mobile carrier support, or they will have to have an associate within the company who would agree to make the illegitimate swap. So basically, you have a partner on the inside, and you either pay them or share the profits or whatever. However, they end up working out the deal, and then what ends up happening is that you get, they end up on the back end doing it, and that's basically what happened in this particular case, where there were employees, or are employees within AT&T network that are working with the hackers or hijackers or however you want to call it, and they're basically disabling the SIM card from you, sending it to another user, and then they get all this information about they basically get a mirror image, a clone of your phone, including your wallets, including your two-factor authentication apps, including your emails, text messages, all this other stuff that is designed to sort of protect things, and then they can go in and take the money out, transfer it from one account to another, and call it a day. So on November 1st, 2018, Seth Shapiro's AT&T, that's the gentleman whose money was stolen, SIM was swapped again, and his Google account with sensitive information was compromised. A few more swap attacks followed through 2018 and 2019, causing substantial financial psychological harm to this individual. Now, he received an anonymous threat via text, the same AT&T wireless account. The sender demanded $800 in exchange for non-disclosure of Shapiro's personal information and noted that they will still have an AT&T representative ready to hand over the accounts. So, as a result of the series of attacks, apart from life savings of $1.8 million in cryptocurrencies, Shapiro lost access to a number of his accounts with crypto exchanges and services like PayPal and Google. Notably, AT&T faced a similar SIM I'm gonna keep on saying that all day today. Oh no, you can't see it. You can't see it. Sorry, I forgot to change. Anyways, you can see it now. AT&T faced similar SIM swap lawsuit regarding the attack on Bitcoin investor Michael Turpin. The investor sued the company for $240 million over the $24 he allegedly lost because of AT&T failure to follow its own agreed security protocol. Um, that's an interesting one. I mean, this is just again, is it wrong that some sort of security protocol failed through AT&T? Sure, I agree with it. Really, $240 million for 24 bucks lost? Come on, man, give me a break. Now, the one with $1.8 million, yeah, I think that that's a much stronger lawsuit, especially when there is proof and evidence, and it sounds like confirmation based off of the report from AT&T that truly there were bad actors within the company that were behaving badly. And so this is one of those things that is kind of interesting and scary for folks kind of going in. And, as a business owner, it's always scary because you want to hire people, you want to provide jobs. And at the same time, every time you hire a person, you also open yourself up to potential security risks. So not only do we have a security risk from the technology and the programming component, right? You want all of that to be very tight, buttoned up, and working, being very safe, very hard to break. Then you have an education on the user end to not click on stupid stuff to expose themselves to the risk. And then you have the company and the employees who have access into the database that can provide potentially a risk. Now, there are a couple of ways to protect yourself when it comes to some of these risks. One of the ways is to get a cold storage wallet. I don't know that I would keep my $1.8 million on my phone wallet. Don't do that. Everybody says don't do that. You don't keep that kind of money. I mean, unless $1.8 million is like 0.0001% of all the money, and that's your spending money that you're just going to use willy nilly, cool, whatever, then keep it. But if $1.8 million is your life savings, why are you keeping it on your phone? It makes no sense. Get cold storage wallet where it's disconnected from the internet. It's disconnected from your phone. It's disconnected from all of these different attacks, and you only access it by using different levels of security. Okay, so you don't want to keep that kind of money on your phone or the phone wallets. As amazing as some of those wallets are, they really are. They've gone a very, very long way, even in a very short period of time. But still, you don't want to have that kind of money on your phone. Get cold storage wallet. They cost anywhere from 50 to 250 bucks, which is nothing in comparison to what you can do. So, one of the first things you want to do is get that money off of the internet, okay? You also want to get educated in how cryptocurrencies work. And one of the best ways that you can do, there's plenty of stuff online where you can search and find and all of that stuff, is if you're looking for one seamless way to learn everything about crypto 101, then come to onedealaway.com. Go to on demand. You will find Crypto 101 course. It's absolutely free. You don't pay a penny. Okay, right now it's absolutely free. It's not going to be free for forever. So do go over there, learn about how it all works, have a better understanding of how the whole system works, and then you'll understand different wallets that you can use and create in order to protect yourself and protect your money. Hold on, y'all. Sun is coming, and I'm looking all kinds of weird. Second. Oh, much better. I was like, I'm getting all washed out. I can't see myself. I'm whiter than white. Anyways, so you want to definitely protect yourself, and you do that by education and getting your money off internet. And the reason that people don't know to get their money off the internet is because they're not educated. This is the reason why you need to go in and learn about stuff. This is the reason why I am getting into the programming. It's not my strong suit. It's not something that I grew up dreaming I could become a programmer. But the circumstances are such that technology is growing, is here to stay, is not going away. And my personal belief is that I need to have at least some understanding to continue to not just survive in the tech world, but potentially thrive, right? And now, of course, with the building of the different, businesses that I am building, specifically when it comes to technology and even the education companies all online, I figured that it is incredibly important for me to learn not just how to be a user of it, but also how to be a systematically kind of thinking behind it, in whether I am programming on my own or, in my case, leading the team of programmers and developers to build stuff. It's incredibly important for me to understand how it all works underneath the hood, because everything is great while everything is great, but when things break and you don't understand why or how, it's highly problematic. That's why I'm such a big proponent of people educating themselves when it comes to their business, when it comes to their money, when it comes to their health, when it comes to whatever it is that is important to them in their lives, to start learning a little bit. You don't have to become an expert 100% in everything, but learn a little bit so you understand some of these concepts so that you can protect yourself. Cryptocurrencies are coming. They are coming. They're going to stay. They're not going to go away. They're not going to be shut down. Maybe not every crypto project is going to survive and probably won't. Uh, but the system as a whole is coming. Okay. And one of the things, as I talked about, different ways to kind of protect yourself and kind of how different components are going to work, is talking and thinking about these centralized entities like AT&T, for example, right? AT&T is centralized. What it does, it basically has a centralized database, which means that there has to be a user who, or in AT&T's case, a bunch of users who have access into that database to be able to manipulate the data, enter new participants, delete the old ones, restrict, and all kinds of different things. Whenever you have that, you have a risk that maybe there's going to be a bad employee who's going to go in and do this stuff. Blockchain, and this is the reason why many companies and many smart individuals are understanding what blockchain can do. So I'm explaining here to you why I'm passionate about it. Blockchain allows you to run and have the database without anybody, any entity, any person, anybody going in and manipulating it. Okay? You go in, program runs, it uses math, it uses set structure within it, and the program itself, the machine itself, is actually running it without anybody having access to go in. So once AT&T switches to blockchain, which they haven't talked about it, they haven't announced it, but I think they should, and I think they will at some point in the future, just like every company will. Every business will be on blockchain eventually. Okay, eventually. Um, and it's going to be decentralized blockchain. It has to be that way. And it basically removes an ability for me now to hire Joe Schmo, the employee, who can then go in, log into the database, call their BFF, who is a hacker, and then give them information about my customer or my client and sell it over there, and then put me in and give me trouble, right, as the business owner, but then also give trouble for my client or my user. Okay, when you use the blockchain, that eliminates that component completely. Now, since we're talking about eliminating that problem completely and what's going on, let's talk about what's going on in the world of technology, in the world of what companies and businesses are doing when it comes to blockchain. So, sort of switching topics, but it really kind of flows within it, and that is the countries and companies, as you will learn, with the most blockchain related patents. Alibaba leading the way. So now you will see that there's blockchain patents across the map. Now this report is coming out of the China Patent Protection Association. So a lot of the stuff that you will see is going to be in Chinese characters. And I can't read those, but thankfully they have translated a lot of these things for us. So the chart that you're looking at over here on the screen is basically the number of patents that we have seen over the course of time. And you can see there's not much been happening. And then 2017, 2018 really went up. 2019 exploded. And they don't have the data for 2020 quite yet of what's going on. But they're expecting to be a little bit lower because of what's happening due to COVID-19. During the first 2 years of tracking this data, the number of blockchain related patents was only 10. 2016 and 2017 showed some revitalization, but the most significant breakthrough came in 2019 with 1,799 authorizations. Three major nations that have received the most patents. The leader is the United States with the 39% of all, South Korea with 21%, and China with 19%. And you can see that we've covered a lot of these things over here, but you likely can see different sort of articles over here. We talked about the Vanguard going in it and being part of it. Deloitte is basically saying, hey, we're launching twice as many companies use blockchain than last year, and that is going to continue. This is right back onto what I was saying, that everybody will be on the blockchain sooner or later. It's just a matter of time, a matter of adoption, and matter of enough programmers like me, which I'm not quite there yet, so don't call me quite yet. Give me a little bit of time. And yes, I do expect that over the upcoming months, I will be doing a lot of stuff with blockchain, a lot of stuff with crypto, a lot of stuff with programming. And just because that's the future, I want to take my business there, and I want to help other businesses be able to do that. So you will see that everybody's going to be on it, and that they are, New York Times is testing a blockchain as well. So a lot of people are starting to use it. Now, of course, you can't read this as well, but again, they translated us. So the US is green, the South Korea is gray, and China is red. And you can see when it comes to all of the patents about the blockchain that you will see that the large chunk that US, South Korea, and China are using, and then everybody else kind of gets the very, very small portion of the pie. Now, the companies, here's the interesting piece. The companies, with most single companies that have received the highest number of blockchain related authorizations, an undisputed leader, the paper continued, is the Chinese tech company Alibaba with 212. So while I can't read that this says Alibaba, and I'm sure you can, if you can't, hey, let me know. That's pretty cool. I can see that they're saying, hey, Alibaba has 12 and is the leader. I see here 2012. I see the leader. I conclude this is Alibaba. Okay? This is my process of a deduction. And yes, you can call me Sherlock for the day. So, anyways, you can see that there are some companies, and you will recognize that there are very interesting companies that are happening here. IBM. IBM has been in a blockchain for a while now, and they're continuing. Bank of America, MasterCard. You will see Capital One. So you will see that more and more companies are starting to jump on this blockchain train, as I'm calling it. Reports attest that Alibaba is also partnering with other massive entities such as China Merchants Bank, Tencent, and Huawei to develop the country's upcoming central bank digital currency. Okay, so folks, this is coming. It's not going away, contrary to what you may believe or may have been led to believe. Okay, and it's important, absolutely crucial, that you get yourself in this industry right now. Now, I can't teach you how to program because I'm learning that myself, but I can teach you how to read some of this data, how to invest in cryptocurrency projects. And Crypto 101, which is a free course, is designed to do exactly that. It is teaching you to go from basically complete newbie, know nothing about cryptocurrencies other than I've heard of the thing called Bitcoin. I've heard of the thing called Ethereum. I've heard of the thing called XRP. I've heard of all these hackers, but I don't know what any of that stuff is. I don't know what the wallets are. I don't know how the exchanges work. I don't even know where to buy the stuff. We teach you all of that on onedealaway.com for free. Crypto 101 course. This is the stuff that I'm using to teach my students right now, to teach my family members, to teach my business partners, to teach my friends, my network, okay? And I have been helping a lot of people go in and get into this space. The time is right, the time is ripe, and we're still so early on that even when you look at some of these prices of Bitcoin and, like, 9,000, 10,000, all of this stuff, that is crazy. It's nothing compared to what it's going to be in the future, y'all. In the future. My personal beliefs is that equities and stock market, the way that we know it right now, is going to die. Now, it's not going to die and go away 100%, okay? It is still going to exist, but it's going to be there for the uneducated and unwilling to learn. The new space to make a ton of money is inside the blockchain, is inside the cryptocurrency projects. Speaking of cryptocurrency projects, let's switch topic just a bit and talk about what's going on and kind of what can we expect, some major rallies and some of the cryptocurrencies that you might have heard me talk about or that you are already familiar with. Some of these projects you'll likely have heard about. Some of them may be brand new. If that is the case, I encourage you to not just go off of this particular article that I'm going to share with you, but that you go and spend a little bit of time researching about these particular networks and crypto projects. What do they do? It's not just about looking at the name and looking at the price and then jumping in it, or listening to some random dude, on YouTube channel, or listening to, reading some random article from somebody you don't know. The goal is to look into it, get exposed, and then go and do your own research. Learn what they do and whether it makes sense. Is there fundamentals behind what they're talking about? All right. So, Crypto Strategies, Nicholas Martin, says altcoins are poised to rise up against Bitcoin as large market cap coins such as Ethereum, XRP, and Litecoin begin to show signs of strength in their BTC pairs. Martin looks at Ethereum and sees the cryptocurrency printing solid bullish signals against the king coin. So, what I have done is I've also pulled up the chart. Let me see if we could zoom in maybe. Can we zoom in? Can we zoom in? Okay, too much, too much. Okay, so you can see the chart, and basically what he's saying is that we're seeing some very interesting movement. Now, this is since January of 2020. Now, of course, you'll see it has gone up. It dropped down in March, and you can see some very interesting pattern. This is the part that he's talking about. You're seeing the higher lows. So there's a low right here. There's a low right here, right? You can see the lows. I don't have to explain what the low is. And you can see that the lows are getting higher. The highs are getting higher. The lows are getting higher, which means we're in a bullish trend. We're in a trend moving on up. And that's only if we look at it from the technical sort of analysis of what's happening here. Now, if we look at Ethereum from fundamental analysis, right? I'm going to teach you a little bit of something here of kind of how to think through some of the projects, since I told you got to go and look at them. Obviously, one of the things you want to look at, you want to look at the chart. You don't want to just look at it 24 hours. You can, right? But 24 hours doesn't give you much of anything. 24 hours is cool if you're trading in a short term. You want to look at larger picture, right? You want to look at 30 days. You want to look at 180 days, which is basically 6 months. You want to look at the year to understand what is the pattern, where are we going, what's happening here. The second thing you want to look at is fundamental analysis. And when it comes to fundamental analysis, the fundamental component is, what is this particular cryptocurrency or cryptocurrency project being used for? What is the use case for it? In the case of Ethereum, it powers all of these altcoins. It powers smart contracts. Vast majority of altcoins that we're even going to talk about today here in the show in a moment are built on top of Ethereum. And in order to execute and to run it, you have to use Ethereum for all of that to run. Well, that basically tells me is the Ethereum is sort of like a gas to power the industry, right? If you think about sort of Let's talk about trucking industry, for example. It's very important. Trucking industry is very important because it's part of the logistics. It's part of getting a product A from point A to point B, right? And anywhere along the route. Well, for that truck to run, they need gas. And interestingly enough, smart contracts also use a thing called gas, which I thought was a good analogy here to help you explain. And gas costs an ETH. Okay, so they use this gas. The truck uses this gas. They have to fill up in California, and then when they reach Arizona, they gotta fill up again. And when they get to New Mexico, they gotta fill up again. So along the way, that truck is consuming gasoline to bring that good, let's say avocado, for example, from California to, I don't know, Birmingham, Alabama, for example. I don't know, making things up over here, okay, as I go. But along the way, they have to use gasoline. To me, Ethereum is this gasoline. It powers the whole network, which is a fundamental way to think about it and why I think Ethereum is a good project. Again, not financial advice, just my way of thinking through fundamentals behind Ethereum. All right. So then he talks about XRP, and he believes that the cryptocurrency is likely to face more pain in the short term, but he expects Ripple native token to trickle a parabolic rise against BTC once it completes a bullish pattern. Again, not a financial advice, do your own research. Litecoin. Martin says coin also offers a large upside against Bitcoin once it dips to his tried and tested buy zone. Smaller altcoins have more room to grow against Bitcoin. He believes Kyber Network, Ren, Aave, Basic Attention Talking, Kava, and IXERLC. I'm not familiar with that one at all, are ripe to ignite after a period of short-term retracement or consolidation. The six coins are solid long-term picks that offer the potential to print outsized gain in their BTC pairs. Martin also noted that unpredictability of the crypto market at large and says anything can happen in the volatile and risky space. And I agree. I personally do also believe that within these projects, there's some amazing crypto. So BAT, Basic Attention Token, is basically the cryptocurrency that is native to Brave browser. And if you don't want to buy it, that is very easy to earn. All you got to do is download the Brave browser, which is what I'm using right now while I'm recording the show and streaming it live on onedealaway.com to display this stuff. And I have been using Brave for a very long time. Absolutely love it. It's absolutely amazing. And the cool piece is you can set it up where you can, get some ads. You look at the ad and you earn some bats. Very cool and easy way to get into this particular token. Okay. Aave or Lend is a crucial and important project that allows for the flash loans that again runs on Ethereum, and it has some very cool things that it does. So I think it is important project. Kyber Network as well, Ren, Kava. Again, I'm not familiar with this one over here, but I'm definitely going to research it. So what you want to do is not just take this somebody else's advice, but because we read this or talked about it briefly, you want to take this stuff and you want to be not lazy. You want to go into your browser, maybe Brave browser, research the projects, learn about them, and then decide, is it worth investing in? For me, many of these things that they talked about are worth investing in, even though I do understand that there are risks with it. And these are many of these are startup companies if you think about it. So don't think about it just as a crypto project. Think about it as a startup company that you have a potential to get into the early action. I am an investor. You already know that. And aside from real estate, I also invest in some of the startup companies that have a potential to 100x. And I believe that many of these pieces over here, and maybe some other ones like crypto.com, for example, have a potential to 100x, meaning I put $1, I get $100 back. That's a very cool way to think about this stuff. And this is why the venture capitalists, do this stuff with the companies. Now, you and I have an opportunity to do this within the crypto and blockchain space. Again, not a financial advice, yet rather a motivation. I was going to say yet and rather, and it turned into yatter. Uh, it should be a new word. But it's really a motivation to get you to go in, look into it, research it, and decide whether it makes sense for you to buy or not. Okay. It does have a potential to go to zero, but it also has a potential to skyrocket. To finish today's episode, which is going way too long already, but we have so much stuff to cover, so much stuff to cover. And today is Independence Day, and how better to celebrate independence and our personal independence than talking about ways to become financially independent and ways to make a ton of money. I mentioned real estate. We talk about real estate all the time. I want to tell you about a project, one of the projects, not my project, not yet, not yet. I will talk to you about my project once we get there. We're not ready to reveal it yet because we're still in very early stages, and we're not on blockchain yet, but we're learning, we're starting to implement, and it is going to come in months. When I say months, like, it's not going to be there in September, although it might. But we're talking months away from being able to do this stuff. Beyond excited about it. So anyways, but I do want to talk to you about project and how crypto is gaining steam in the US housing sector. Yes, you didn't think it was possible, but it is. It is. Now, of course, they're recapping over here saying, hey, 45 million Americans file for unemployment benefits. We know that it's 31.5 as of yesterday's report, right? There's about 4.3 million citizens who cannot pay their mortgages. We talked about it as well, right? We know that that's coming. It's putting real estate industry in jeopardy as home sales and commercial property values plunge. Now, this is an interesting one. I do want to point out something that sometimes they have to put in these articles. As we talked about, not everywhere is plunging. Some areas are definitely going up, while other areas are indeed going down. And remember, real estate is local. So while it's plunging somewhere, it's rising somewhere else. But nonetheless, there's a cool thing of what we can do when it comes to crypto and real estate. Okay. Now, crypto adoption gets a boost in real estate. Real estate listing in markets that are popular for foreign investors, including California and Florida, are progressively publicizing they accept cryptocurrency as a form of payment. How exciting is that? I have been accepting cryptocurrency as a payment. For example, for my tenants, they can pay in many different things. Like, people say, how do I pay you? I'm like, here's the things that I accept. And people's jaws drop when I talk about it. Yes, for me, when I am actually selling my education, my services, properties, when I'm renting, all of that stuff, of course you can pay in US dollar. I'll take it. We can do cash. We can do check. Actually, you can't do really cash. I don't really accept cash for just about anything, just because it's a pain in the butt to track for accounting purposes. So, but I do check. I do cards. I do wires. And then of course, you can pay in euro. You can pay in yen, right? So it's not just US dollars. I will accept British pound as well, believe it or not. So I do accept hard currencies, Bitcoin, Ethereum. So all of those are acceptable. And of course, all of them have a ramp to be able to pay in it. And I've been doing it for a while. And I do also accept gold and silver as well. So there you go. I accept all kinds of different payments. Anything that has value, I will accept it as a form of payment. Absolutely well. So, but the desire to capture the attention of foreign investors and homegrown enthusiasts who prefer to pay with cryptocurrencies. A spike in appetite for U.S. properties from investors in China has also fueled a rally in Bitcoin. And there's an international real estate market that operates decentralized title registry and creates a space for buyers, sellers, and brokers to come together to execute transactions using the blockchain tech. Now, I do want to point out, go check them out. I haven't quite checked them out yet. I will be very honest and transparent to say that. But I think it is important for you to at least take a look at it. But you don't have to use them. All you have to use to accept this, people don't understand, like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so complex. No, it's not. all you have to do is have a Bitcoin address, an Ethereum address, a wallet basically, give it to the other person, request the money, right? Or they send you the money. It happens instantaneously. The property ends up being transferred and you move on. It's exactly the same. It's not that difficult at all. It sounds like it's this like brain or whatever thing. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Okay. And, this is part of the things that we're going to be implementing in the platform, but it's going to be a little bit different. And I think it's going to be a bit sexier than what they're talking about here. I think it's going to blow your mind. Anyways, I get very excited about this stuff. Very excited about this stuff. So they're basically saying the BTC, which is a borderless currency, which it is, they cannot be restricted by the government, with increasingly be preferred by many investors delivering delving into the housing industry. Instances of fake gold in Indian bank reserves, as well as the JP Morgan vaults, have led to low confidence in traditional monetary system. Now, I'm going to pause over here for just a moment because you might have not heard the news, but there have been news, I want to say this week, we didn't cover it at all, but we're going to cover it briefly now, is that there's fake gold being sold on the market. Oh my gosh, you got to be careful with everything these days. It's basically, they'll make the bars or whatever, and inside of it is useless metals, and then they will just do a thin layer of gold around it. So when they're testing, what ends up happening, how they test for the gold, is they'll actually scrape and then they'll put some chemicals and then they get tested. So what they do, the folks have figured out, and it's actually the fake gold is coming, you will never guess, Wuhan, China. What? I mean, this place is going to be on a map. If you've never heard of Wuhan, don't know where it is before 2020, you definitely know about it today. If it's not for COVID, now it's for fake gold. And at least that's what the reports were saying. So that's not Nev saying, that's what the news have been saying. And of course, do go out there and check it out. Maybe with your Brave browser. I don't know. Check it out. So they'll put the layer that is thick enough that when the scrapers go through, right, it shows as the real gold. But deep on the inside, it's not. It's fake. It's fake. And they have discovered that. So be very, 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 very careful when you get gold, okay? And we also have heard news that the Lebanese pound has crashed over 80% in just 10 months, causing many citizens to turn away from traditional systems and fiat money, like Bank Swift and fiat money, preferring instead to store their investments in Bitcoin. The rise in prominence of digital currencies can be highlighted by the U.S. Congress' recent decision to look into digital dollar for stimulus payments and distribution in times of crisis such as COVID-19. And I'm going to add China's move into their own centralized digital currency, as well as Europe talking about it, Russia talking about it. Again, folks, world is going crypto. We're going on a blockchain. We're going into crypto, and it's time for you not to be left behind. You want to be ahead of the curve and the herd, not behind it. You want to be part of the herd. You want to be ahead of it. So when they show up, they lift you right on up. That's where you want to be positioned. And of course, then we have the PayPal, which is entering the digital space, which could make cryptocurrencies like BTC more accepted by corporations and general public, and making it easier, because at the end of the day, what you want is you want to have a place, a space where you can ease on ramp, off ramp, and that's what a lot of these things are creating, and that's part of what we're creating as well here within our company that is going to be on real estate. So, anyways, we've talked about a lot of things today. We've gone over an hour here, and so my apologies for a bit longer thing, but this is so important. This is incredibly important, y'all, and I hope that you are seeing and realizing why it's incredibly important for you to get into the crypto space right away. Now, you don't have to listen to me. This is not financial advice. I am just looking at the big picture of what's going on, where the direction is going. I am still very bullish on real estate, which is the reason why I'm connecting the two, because I believe that's the future of how things are going to work, and I want to be the first. Okay, now, I'm not the first because I know that there's some other companies that are doing stuff and there's companies that are developing, but I want to be the first in this space, or at least one of the first ones, okay? Because as this continues to grow, and it will grow exponentially. Exponential growth, we just saw it in one of those charts, right? It kind of starts slow, and nothing is happening, nothing is happening. We see a little bit of tick, little bit of tick, and then it goes parabolic. I don't want to enter when it's going parabolic. I want to enter when it's boring. When it's boring and I know it has a power and a potential to go parabolic. It's a risk. Everything has a risk, okay? So I don't bet a farm on it, but I am betting that it will go up. Again, not a financial advice, not a guarantee. It's more of a probability, thinking creatively about what tech does, how it's been progressing, and the power it has to change, and looking at all the problems that we have so far when it comes to our money and the current financial system. So, I hope you have enjoyed this. Thank you for everybody who has watched this. We're going to go into the Q&A right away. For those of you watching this on YouTube, do me a huge favor, hit that like button, hit the subscribe and the bell button, and I will see you tomorrow. Until then, stay forever money blessed, and do remember, you are only one deal away.